Welcome back to today's deep dive. We are tackling some pretty heady stuff today.
Yeah, we definitely are.
You know that feeling when someone wrongs you and you say, oh, it's fine, but deep down you're basically keeping a little black book of everything they owe you.
Oh, I know that feeling entirely too well.
Right. Well, for the upcoming weekend of February 28th, 2026, we are looking at a biblical reflection that basically tells us to burn that book.
Yeah.
We are talking about limitless forgiveness today.
It is easily one of the hardest concepts in the entire text. Today we're diving into the boundless heart reflection, along with a 7-step quiet time guide and the parable of the unmerciful servant from Matthew 18.
And honestly, the mission here is, it's kind of terrifying. We want to move from a polite, I forgive you, to something that actually changes your physiology.
Right, from the surface level straight down to the core.
Okay, so let's get into the setup. We have Peter walking up to Jesus, and he asks, Lord, how many times do I have to forgive my brother? Up to 7 times. And you just know he thought he was being incredibly generous here.
Oh, he definitely thought he was acing the test. The standard back then was 3 times, so he's doubling it and adding 1.
But Jesus looks at him and drops a bomb. He says, not 7 times, but 77 times.
Or 70 times 7, depending on your translation.
Wait, hold on. 490 times? That feels less like forgiveness and more like just, I don't know, being a doormat. Is the point really to let people walk all over you until you hit number 491?
No, and that is exactly the trap. It isn't a math problem you have to solve. It's a mindset.
So the limit just shouldn't exist.
Exactly. Jesus is saying the mandate is limitless. And to explain why, because let's be honest, that sounds irrational on paper. Jesus tells the parable of the unmerciful servant, and the numbers here are just absolutely wild.
Right, the king and the debt. I've heard this before, where one guy owes a lot and the other owes a little.
A lot is the understatement of the century here. The servant owes the king 10,000 talents.
Which is how much, exactly?
Well, to put that in perspective, 1 talent was about 20 years of wages for a standard laborer. So 10,000 talents. That is roughly 150,000 years of wages.
150,000 years. So we're talking billions of dollars.
Billions. It isn't a mortgage, it's the national debt. It is literally unpayable. There is zero hope.
And yet the king just wipes it. A totally clean slate.
Right, this guy just won the cosmic lottery.
He walks out of the palace completely debt-free. And then, and this is the part that makes you want to throw your phone across the room, he finds a coworker who owes him 100 denarii.
Which is only about 3 months' wages.
Okay, so meaningful money, but entirely payable. And the guy who just got forgiven billions, he chokes him.
He literally grabs him by the throat and says, pay what you owe.
That is insane. He just escaped life in prison, and he's physically choking a guy over what is essentially a rounding error compared to his own debt.
It's grotesque hypocrisy. But here is the kicker. We are that servant.
Oof, I knew you were going to say that.
It is the uncomfortable truth of the text. God has forgiven us a debt we could literally never pay back. Just complete moral bankruptcy. There's a reference to 2 Chronicles 7.14 in the reflection about how God forgives our sin unconditionally when we humble ourselves and turn to Him.
So when we hold a grudge against someone else, we are acting exactly like that servant.
Yes, refusing to forgive others is a direct denial of the grace we just received. We're grabbing someone by the throat while standing on a mountain of grace we didn't earn.
Man, that hits hard. But practically speaking, how do you stop? Because sometimes your brain says, I forgive you, but your stomach is still tied in knots.
That physical sensation is actually the key to this whole thing. The Greek word used for heart in this passage, when Jesus says forgive from the heart, is cardia.
Cardia, like cardiac.
Exactly. It doesn't just mean your superficial emotions. It means the seat of your physical and spiritual life. The absolute center of who you are. It links right back to the Shema in Deuteronomy 6.5, which says, love God with all your heart.
So if you love God with your cardia, your whole being, you have to forgive your brother with your cardia too.
Precisely. It is a visceral, whole being action, not just a verbal one. If you're saying the words, I forgive you, but you're still hoping they fail, or you're replaying the argument in the shower, you haven't forgiven from the cardia.
You're still the servant choking the coworker.
Exactly.
So what's the fix? Because I think a lot of listeners, myself included, might not be choking people, but we definitely aren't letting things go.
The Quiet Time Guide have a prompt that just stops you dead in your tracks. It asks, who is the person you are still making pay in your heart?
Wow. But how do we make them pay?
It's subtle.
Yeah.
We become debt collectors.
Yeah.
We use silence. We use bitterness or sarcasm. We avoid eye contact.
Giving someone the silent treatment is basically sending a past due notice.
100%. The actionable advice here is to stop relying on a vague feeling of being a nice person. Bring the specific name of that enemy pinned in your heart before God.
And pray for the strength to release the debt.
Right? Visualize the debt they owe you, the apology you never got, the respect they didn't show, and intentionally, prayerfully shred the invoice, just as the king released the servant.
Because if the king shredded ours, we don't really have the right to hold on to theirs.
Forgiven people must forgive people. That is the core truth.
It is a simple concept, but it's definitely a lifetime of work. We're going to leave you with a final thought to mull over today. If holding a grudge is essentially acting as a debt collector for a debt you cannot even enforce, how much lighter would your own cardia feel if you just shredded that invoice today?
I think that's a question worth asking yourself.
Thanks for going on this deep dive with us. We will see you next time.